Hi, everyone. Anne O'Connell with OC Publishing here, and welcome to the author journey. I was having such a good time chatting with our guest today backstage that I thought, oh my goodness, hopefully you haven't been waiting for us. We have a new children's author with us today. Very exciting. He's coming to us from Pickering, Ontario, and his name is Newton Vanriel. And he is a family man with a passion for education and people. He's been married for over 30 years to the love of his life, Vivian. Newton has two grown children, Jordan and Alexandra. He is also a skilled fundraiser with over 20 years of major gift capital campaign sponsorship, grant writing, organizational strategic planning, and community engagement experience. I think we have a lot of parallels in our professional careers. By day, he's a corporate engagement manager for World Vision Canada, and by night, a children's author. His book, his first children's book, but it's the first of a series, is The Adventures of the Soul Sisters. Look at this gorgeous cover and just absorb that for a second. Look, The Adventures of the Soul Sisters by Newton Vanriel, and I'm going to bring Newton up to join me now. Hi, Newton.
Hello, and how are you?
I'm very well. Welcome to the author journey. I'm so
Thank
excited
you.
about digging into this beautiful book. And I
Thank
also
you
I want
very
to
much.
mention illustrated by Monique Rabrent.
Yes, I want to highlight that because without Monique, it brings the book to life, and she's just amazing. And we're working on the second book right now, so yeah, she just brings it to life.
Isn't it? I mean, just you look at this, and of course, Canadians. Well, and actually, the building is so iconic; it might be recognizable worldwide. You see the CN Tower in the
Exactly.
background there.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you're not far from Toronto. How far? You'd be a few hours, two
No, no,
hours.
we're just next to Toronto. We're like a good from driving downtown, it's about 25 minutes. Uh,
Okay.
from downtown Toronto. So I grew up in downtown. I grew up in downtown Toronto. Originally born in Jamaica, but yeah, it's very close to Toronto.
Okay, I should know that. I lived in Mississauga for a few years, so the
You said
memory
the other
has
one.
faded. The memory has faded. So let's talk. Look at this gorgeous book. So talk a little bit about the inspiration behind the Adventures of the Soul Sisters.
Well, I've always been a lover of the spoken word. Going back to when I was 16 years old, I was involved in spoken word events and activities and writing poetry. I used to write love notes to my wife, a girlfriend at the time, which is now my
Mm-hmm.
wife. And so it's actually evolved into something I've always wanted to do, but I went into the stream of fundraising and corporate
Mm-hmm.
fundraising. And during, I guess, the pandemic, there was an opportunity while I was working from home and I had some time to actually start a book about acceptance.
Mm.
And I always believe there's value in being unique. And and I also feel I'm a bit of an outsider sometimes. So this book is for all the outsiders who sometimes feel that their difference is not recognized, but there's
Mm-hmm.
value in being unique. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book. Well, one of the reasons, a
Mm-hmm.
secondary reason, a good friend of mine growing up was a Chinese friend of mine, and we grew up from young, probably age 7, where he
Mm-hmm.
was the best man at my wedding, and there's that connection. When people look at us, they go, "Well, I'm Jamaican and he's Chinese, but he's my soul brother." So the
Wow.
theme of Soul Sisters is really about. It's not about bloodline; it's about
Mm-hmm.
connectivity. So
I love
that's
that.
what inspired me. Yeah.
Oh, that I love that. And I think about that, trying to force a round peg into a square hole. And I always tell people, don't force it. Like just dance
No.
around it, right?
Yeah,
Like,
let it flow in. Let it seam
yeah,
itself in and become part of maybe a different, maybe a square peg in a round hole, and it's still
yes,
comfortable there. So yeah, that's very
embracing
insightful.
it.
Yeah,
But I loved it. I mean, the storyline. Talk a little bit about the storyline. It's, a
sure.
young Black couple
Yeah,
who
sure.
wants to have a child and is having
Mhm.
difficulties. And
Yeah.
then what happens?
Well, they went through a process, and I wanted to pick originally I wanted to pick a young Black family. Oh, there's a picture,
Oh, I love
beautiful,
that.
beautiful work by Monique.
Yeah.
And I wanted to pick a Black family because sometimes the adoption system it's rare to have a black family that adopts a black and white child. So I want to make it a bit of a unique scenario, but they tried to have a child and they couldn't. But what
Mhm.
happened is that at one point they were living in Toronto, but they moved to Northern Ontario
Mhm.
because the daughter inherited a farm. So in their movement, they moved up to a farm. They had everything, space. They were graphic designers. They had time to do their work, but they wanted to have a child. And
Mhm.
then out of circumstances that, you know how the world or the energies collide together and things work out, they had the opportunity to adopt two girls, Dawn and Charm, at around
Mhm.
the same time. Uh, Dawn is uh, Dawn is black and Charm is white, and
Mhm.
they look entirely different. But the theme of this is that they look at each other and say, "Hey, we're twins." So they dress the same. They have their own language.
I
They
love
look at
it.
the world through their lens, their soul sisters movement lens. So it's really about the adventures. Yeah, that's
Look
there's
how
Monique.
gorgeous.
Yeah, beautiful artwork.
Gorgeous.
And
And
it's just a journey of two soul sisters who are in a farm, and the farm animals become their friends.
mhm.
And I guess throughout the book, there's poetry. So
Mhm.
I combined my love of the word and the love of poetry together to create a sort of a symbiotic flow as
Mhm.
we go through the adventures. And of course, the book ends with them entering school. So
Right.
now the next
They
step
get
is
more adventures.
more adventures, and we're working on it right now. It's going to be amazing
Awesome.
because
Oh,
it's
I
going
can't
to be
wait.
a different dynamic. Yeah,
Well, I would love for you if you would do us the pleasure of reading something from the book. Would you do that for
sure,
us? Yay.
will do. One of my favorite poems is a fairly short one. It talks about families, and when people say, "Hey, you're weird," you're not really weird. You're just unique. And I think this poem expresses it very well. And it's interesting because when you look at the actual picture, let's face it, that's a Simpsons copyright. No, and the title is called Weird, and it begins, "What's weird to you may be what you see. The beauty within may make some flee. Don't be afraid, and you may find the beauty within and the power of the positive mind. So be weird."
Oh,
Now that says a lot in itself, and it's very to the point. In this world where sometimes we're all judged, and sometimes judged without given the opportunity to express yourself, it's okay to listen and let the different dynamics of different views come in. So that's really the theme of the book, really. I
I
mean,
love it.
the townspeople go, "Well, they're kind of weird, they're different," and they say, "Well, we're different, but we're
Mhm.
happy being who we are."
Mhm.
And so there's, because it's a children's book, I didn't want to make it too adult-ish.
Mhm.
It's
But
a theme.
it's like a first reader
Yeah,
because, it's more it's not like a children's picture book per
yeah,
se. It's
yeah,
I think, like a middle grade, maybe a little skewed younger
exactly.
middle grade, which is, I
Age
think, a
9.
wonderful age.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that age where, I have two, well, we have two kids and they're 27 and 25, but when they were young, they were sponges with
Mhm.
books. My
Mhm.
daughter, she was brilliant because she would remember the books that we read her, and at a
Wow.
young age, and she'd memorize it. And so we would turn the page and she would read it. She wouldn't read it. She would say, "Okay, this is a da, 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 da." And so we
It's
would,
memorized.
at one point we put the book down and said, "Okay, go ahead, do your stuff."
You tell us
Uh,
your story. Yeah.
yeah, books are very important to me, my family, as in education,
Mhm.
and those are the things that, if you look at my library, it's loaded with all types of books from all
Yeah.
different
And
cultures.
kids
And
books, I always say kids books are for all ages, and really this is
yes,
the message in here. I think is right across the board. And people who are older and maybe have a different life experience,
Mhm.
can certainly benefit from if you're teens into adulthood. I love kids
Mhm.
books. I wanted just to remind everyone, if you're watching and as we're chatting, if you have questions for Newton, please throw them into the comments and we'll get to them. I want to do a shout out to Elizabeth Galesloot, who's watching, our Orange Kitty author and illustrator, very talented woman. Happy to have her as part of the OC Publishing family. So Newton, let's go back to the how do you fit in the time for writing? Because you're still working full time.
Full
You work for
time.
World Vision. I want to give a shout out. World Vision is one of my
Shout
favorite
out.
go-to charities. You're fundraiser, you're moving and shaking, but boy, oh boy, this children's book was dying to get out. So how do you fit all
Mhm.
of it in? I called you Superman in one of my.
I'm so far from it. My kids think I'm a geek, but that's another
I
story.
love it. I love it. A weird
Well,
geek.
well,
Perfect.
yeah, I am. I am. And geeks inherit the earth. It's a wonderful thing.
Guilty as charged, right?
Yeah. Well, I think for me, what motivated me was actually the pandemic. At the time when both of us were on lockdown and we had time. I finally had the time to actually write, and so I started writing, and I did at least about 6 to 8 manuscripts before I felt comfortable. Like I said, I know marketing and fundraising, but my insecurities were in writing a book. So I started writing, and then I used LinkedIn as my tool for connecting with everyone. So I used LinkedIn to actually have a conversation with the publisher, and I said, I have this great idea. I'm thinking about doing this. So I sat down with them, and then what happened was the process of going through the publishing process. And so for me, the pandemic, which was a challenging time for a lot of people, and it was also stressful too because I lost relatives during that time too.
Oh,
So it was challenging, stressful, and also, but it gave time for me to work on continue doing my full-time work at World Vision to continue that commitment in the area of corporate engagement and corporate fundraising, and also when I have the time off, and in the early mornings or in the evenings to continue writing the book. And I just kept on writing and writing. And I knew Monique from the past because Monique did a painting of my wife for her 50th birthday. So I
yes.
said to her way back, because my wife is the age, well, she's 57 now, but when she was 50, I said to Monique, you know what? I'd like to write a book one day. And she said, okay, sure, let's do it. That was 7 years,
Oh, wow.
7 years ago. And I think the motivation, and if you look at the artwork, that just amazing work by
Isn't
Monique.
it beautiful? Yeah.
And I'm not only promoting myself, I promote her too. She's actually had opportunities to do further illustrations, and she's a local artist in Oshawa. She does paint night. She even has a band.
Oh,
She
wonderful. Oh, those creative types.
she's a to-do, yeah, she's a to-do person like us,
Yes,
I think. We
I
have a
love
lot
it.
on the plates.
I just
Yeah,
love these
so that's
illustrations.
really my motivation
Awesome.
in terms of actually having the time, because I also do consulting,
Hmm.
fundraising consulting, and then I've also in the past I've done a lot, about 30 years of volunteering in a variety of community agencies. So yeah, it's almost like they say a true Jamaican has many jobs.
Well, and Elizabeth asks, yeah, you may have addressed it. How long was this story waiting to be written?
Oh, wow. Well, I would say approximately 5 to 10 years. Really,
Yeah,
I had
it's
the
been bubbling
idea.
away.
Yeah, I had the idea in my mind. I
Hmm.
wanted it to be twins in the not in the true sense, but
Hmm.
twins in the sense of their commitment to with each other, their
Hmm.
family structure, and how they work together. And and I wanted to do something in inclusivity,
Hmm.
and the timing was right because during George Floyd, that was another motivation when I was writing to actually focus on the value of learning other people, learning people and the uniqueness. We're
Mm-hmm.
not entirely the same. It's okay for us to
Right.
be unique. So it's important to have that dialogue to really respect that uniqueness that we all have.
Hmm. And you addressed my question. I was going to say, why did you think it was important to get that message out? I mean, the time
Mm.
is now. It has been, and
Yeah.
it sometimes it's disheartening to see that there's still a need to
Mm.
to tell people that
Yeah.
we need to embrace one another and accept each other's
Yeah.
differences. So I applaud you. I love it.
Thank
And
you.
just I love the juxtaposition of the wild redhead and the
Yeah. Yeah.
beautiful ebony skin, of
Yeah.
the twin. Now you touched a little bit on the marketing, so I want to make sure that we get that in. And you looked really excited about that
Yeah.
marketing piece,
I
and
love
that's not a
marketing.
that's not a common response from an author. So talk a little bit
Mm.
about that piece of the puzzle and what you've been doing, because
Yeah.
The Adventures of the Soul Sisters has been a bestseller. They've made a play from it. I want to hear about that as well, but just
Sure.
rewind and talk a little bit about what you've been doing.
Well, when I look at myself as an author, and it took me a while to say Newton Vanriel author,
I know.
because Newton Vanriel is a fundraiser, and I've been doing it for a long time. I understand the market and how to connect with people and how to
Hmm.
build relationships. Those are
Hmm.
the areas that I've been trained to do. It's my profession.
Hmm.
So when it came to the point where the publisher said to me after just before the release, now you're a marketing guy, market it
Yeah.
out. And
Go
I
do
said,
it. Fly,
let's
be
go.
free.
What was interesting, I thought at the time, I had a friend that is a publicist. And I said to her, you know what? I would like you to maybe be on board with this. And
Mhm.
she said, well, Newton, I know you. I think you can do it. And so started the journey of sending out emails, doing and I'll go through the list. I have a list of the things I've done. Number one is doing a play about the book
Wow.
uh, up in Port Perry, which is north of us, and
Uh-huh.
it was the theater on the ridge in which I read the book, and two actresses played the girls.
Oh, so cool.
That is so cool.
I love
So
it.
they're waiting for me to do the next book because they really want to expand on doing a full play
Wow.
on the theme. I've done book readings for both of chapters, display at our local Ajax chapters.
Mhm.
I've done Rogers Cable presentation during Black History Month. I've
Mhm.
done the Ajax Rotary Club. I spoke about inclusivity. I have spoken at 100 Huntley Street, which was
Mhm.
amazing because
I saw that interview. That was really awesome. Well done. That was really
yeah,
good.
and it was knowing somebody. The journey of this is really who you know. I knew somebody who was on there a few weeks before,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I called them and I said, "Okay, what's the journey? How do I go about?" And they
Mhm.
sent a full 5-page document that I had to fill out.
Oh, wow.
So it was more than just let's say, "Hey, well, we want you on."
Yeah,
They said,
right.
"Does your theme fit us?" And
Right.
so it did, went well,
Yes.
and it was an amazing presentation. It aired in January.
And you make
I've
a really good point. And you talked about, the theme at the Rotary meeting of inclusivity, understanding what Huntley Street is looking for. So picking, like, you need a hook,
yes,
you need to know your material, and you need to know where the best fit is when you're reaching out to media,
exactly.
right? Hmm.
And one of the actually one of the events I'm most proud of is an event that I thought, no, it doesn't fit. It was Chris Asper. He's former World Vision staff, but he
Hmm.
does podcast on emerging corporate managers. And he
Ooh.
said to me, Newton, can you twist this? Can you find fit? And I said, well, I could use the characteristics of the Soul Sisters as
Hmm.
characteristics of effective leaders. And I did the podcast and went really well.
Wow.
Great support. And yeah, so I've played Santa Claus for the Black Business Professional Association,
Well done.
and I've done Pickering Library reading, and
Hmm.
my upcoming this next week. There's an organization called Tropicana Community Services. It's one of the
Hmm.
larger Black community agencies, and I
Hmm.
sat as their board of directors for fundraising for 2 years.
Hmm.
Uh, I guess I haven't burned any bridges, and I think that's another marketing opportunity.
Yes.
People realize that I work hard, I have a work ethic,
Hmm.
and so I'm doing a book reading included in a program on inclusivity and youth inclusivity in the Black community. So that's coming up. So to say all this, what I'm really saying is that if you believe in what you wrote,
Hmm.
go out and promote it.
Hmm.
And it's not shameless. It's just
Mm-mm.
talk about the movement of inclusivity, the Soul
Hmm.
Sisters movement. I believe in it. So
Hmm.
I will continue plugging away. I've done Black History Month in February was every week I had 2 or 3 events.
Oh, that's
And
amazing.
it's just because I've worked in the community within the Black community. I've
Hmm.
worked also within a variety of other communities. I even did a presentation to all the staff at World Vision.
Oh,
I actually
wonderful.
spoke about the book during Black History Month
Hmm.
uh, to talk about that, and that was just amazing because it reaches not only World Vision with Canada,
Hmm.
but there are
Hmm.
100 World Visions around the world. So it could be taped and sent to all the various World Visions. That was one of the highlights for the
Well,
book.
that's
And
amazing. And I think, what you're really deftly demonstrating is that you start with your own circles, right?
mhm.
And then you kind of build the ripples, the concentric circles that build
Concentric
from there,
circles, yes, of
right?
fundraising.
I
Yes, yes.
know. See, I told we speak the same language.
Concentric circles. I have the book. I have the
I
book.
know. I bet you did. So I'm going to share this as well. The very beginning of your bio says a family man, and
Mhm.
you gotta love a man who will wear a Santa Claus sweater, right?
I have no shame. I will tell you, and the kids will say this
No
about me.
shame.
I have no shame because I've even when I was coaching, I coached soccer in Pickering,
Hmm.
and actually this is brand new. I'm a recipient of the Cultural Diversity Award in Pickering. And I'm
Congratulations.
picking up in May, but that's because I've been involved in Pickering for since '99. I've coached soccer. I've been a
Wow.
panel for the United Way in the region. I've been on school council, and I think the book is almost the icing to it because it talks about
Right.
diversity. So on May 25th, I'm picking up the Pickering Diversity Award,
Oh,
and
awesome.
it's just been I I look at it as a teaching moment,
Hmm.
not only for myself, but also for those who are even in the podcast about
Hmm.
the importance of utilizing things like LinkedIn.
Yes.
LinkedIn,
Huge.
utilizing your initial circle and
That's
then
how we
spreading.
connected. You
Exactly.
found me on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, I sent a
Yep.
note to LinkedIn. I said, "Hey, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Hey, let's chat."
And I
And
knew right away you would make a great guest. I said, "Yeah, come on."
well, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that because
My pleasure.
I think what I've learned is I've gained confidence in myself as an author
Hmm.
because I've always had confidence in myself as a fundraiser and because it's comfortable, it's my feel, it's my area of
Right.
profession, and I love it. But being an author was a process of learning that it's not only writing the book, it's
Hmm.
how you relay the vision to people, how
Hmm.
you can clearly make them understand it in a few words.
Hmm.
And then my family bought the book, my family and friends bought the book like crazy. I'm not a social media person, but I had to be one, and that's
Yes.
another reason. That's another marketing tool. I got on Instagram fully. I have a Facebook page. I
Yeah.
have
And now
TikTok.
you have a
Yeah,
beautiful website now as well. Hang on a
exactly.
second.
And
Let's show that beautiful website. Okay, I'm just going to do a little scroll so people can enjoy. And of course, before we forget, so this is also where if you go to solstistasbook.ca, you can
That's right.
order the book. There's a get your
That's right.
copy right here. And
That's right.
again, don't forget to support your indie authors by doing a review.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
this
think
beautiful.
there are also family pictures I have in there. I have photos
Yes. And here's
and a
your
whole bunch
news.
of news and events. I've had
Yeah.
a list of all the events I've done. Yeah, the bookstores in terms of where you can get
Excellent.
the book, and I've also have local bookstores too. And these are
Oh, that's
family
terrific.
pictures. Yeah. So
Nice.
I'm at it's at the different book lists. It's at a variety of bookstores. It's also at the Black owned book market in Pickering Town Center.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
all I did was just ask. I find as a fundraiser, my role, especially my expertise is in prospect
Mm-hmm.
management
Mm-hmm.
and prospect
Oh,
development.
brilliant.
And everybody hates that, but I enjoy it. So
Mm-hmm.
you understand why I enjoy the marketing of the book, because I don't mind asking those questions to brand new people.
Yeah.
Hey, let's have a five. I usually say a 15-minute discovery call, but the
Mm-hmm.
discovery call never it usually lasts in half an
Never
hour
finishes. I know, right?
because I focus on what their interests are.
Mm-hmm.
I don't focus entirely. Oh, Newton wants this. Newton wants this.
Mm-hmm.
When I go to the libraries, I say, how can I assist you in a program that you have already on
Mm-hmm.
inclusivity? I
Mm-hmm.
can just piggyback on it. I'm
That's so
having
cool.
negotiations with the York Region's Children's Aid because adoption is such a powerful theme in the book.
Right. Yeah.
I'm working on opportunity for a program there. So
Oh, that's wonderful.
it's just remarkable how it makes me feel so good that people understand the book and
I
understand
love it.
the art of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I did some volunteer work for Children's Aid Society when I lived in Toronto, but I wanted to ask a question before we well, I mean, we could keep going, but I want to be conscious of your time too. But
I can keep
yeah.
going.
So again, I want to show this beautiful cover. But
Thank you.
did you have any pushback? The storyline being, a young black couple adopting a white baby. Like, have you had any negative feedback on
You know
that?
what's interesting? No, and I'll tell you
Good.
why. Before I wrote the book, I went to the adoption organizations,
Mm-hmm.
and
Did your
as
research?
part of my research to
Mm-hmm.
garner information, I spoke to people who were adopted. I spoke to families who adopted,
Mm-hmm.
multiracial. One of my contacts, is somebody who's a black man that's adopted multiracial kids,
Mm-hmm.
and he's an individual. So and he's living the time of his life, and his kids are thriving. So
Awesome.
the only challenge I've had, and I'll be very transparent,
Mm-hmm.
going into schools, because some of the schools view me as a vendor and they view it as
Mm.
I'm selling. So what I've said to them is that I won't sell a book.
Mm.
This is about a story of inclusivity that I
Yeah.
think needs to be relayed into the
Mm.
schools
And you say,
itself.
I'll
So
donate it to the library, right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I donated to libraries. And I
Smart.
just had a conversation with the Ajax Library
Mm-hmm.
in the morning, and there's an opportunity of them doing something with that too. So
Fantastic.
yeah, it's been
Fantastic.
the schools where they have certain guidelines within schools
Sure.
and
Yes.
policies and that, and I
Understanding.
respect
Yeah.
that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Well, and I think one of a strong message that you have shared is don't be afraid to ask.
Hmm.
As far as your marketing goes. And one of the things that always comes back to me from the courses I took through University of Indiana, the fundraising school, was bless and release. You know, it's like if this doesn't fit for you, if it doesn't resonate, then you will find what works for you, and
That's so true.
we'll find a good match, right?
Don't take it personally.
Yeah,
In fundraising, you hear no
a
90%,
lot.
98%
Right.
of the time,
Oh my
it's
goodness. Yeah,
no. In
yeah.
my mind, it's not really now. It's timing is an issue.
Hmm.
So when
Hmm.
somebody says no, a school says no, I say thank you very much.
Hmm.
I'll leave the information with you.
Yeah.
And I'm finding now the next step is I'm getting opportunities to nominate the book. I've
Oh,
nominated
good.
for a few awards, including the Toronto Book Award.
Awesome.
So
Congratulations.
it's and people are coming to me saying, "Hey, maybe you should. Here's a link. Look
Hmm.
at it."
Yes.
And so it's been beyond what I didn't expect this. I expected a book that I would love and maybe my family and friends would share. And
Well,
it's become a book beyond my imagination. So, and
this book is so beautiful. It is
it's a
beautiful, and it gives me great pleasure to help spread the word and to
thank you.
have met you on the author journey. And amazingly, we're out of time now, but I want to thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to bring up your website one more time.
Thank you.
If people want to learn more about Newton and the Soul Sisters, the Adventures of the Soul Sisters, go to soulsistersbook.ca, and there's a buy link on those pages. Reach out to Newton, follow him on social media, and enjoy the Adventures of the Soul Sisters.
I
And
just
we'll.
I just
I was
want to
going
say
to.
thank you. Just want to say thank you, Anne, and thank you for the opportunity of just uh, giving me the opportunity to spread the word and to spread the theme of what I believe is relevant in the this day and age. So thank you, Anne, and I appreciate this.
So relevant, and it's absolutely my pleasure. And you'll come back when the
Oh,
next
love
in the
to.
Soul Sisters Adventures comes out.
Well,
Okay,
do, well, do.
that'd be
Looking
great.
forward to it. Thank you.
Thanks. And thank you for joining us on this week's author journey. I hope you enjoyed our discussion with Newton Vanriel and learning about the adventures of the Soul Sisters. And hopefully, we'll be able to get Newton back when the next one comes out. So for now, I'm Anna.